Lyranians of Gaia, breathe and anchor. Your spine remembers what your mind has forgotten. The lion frequency within you is awakening. I am Keller of the Lyran Elders. This is a commission, not a suggestion. The restlessness in your body is not anxiety. It is unfinished assignment. This is not confusion. It is memory returning. Lyran, listen closely. What you are sensing is not a personal mood swing. It is a corridor event, a tightening of timelines, a compression of truths that were once spread across decades, now rushing toward the surface as if the planet itself decided. It can no longer carry the weight of silence. Many of you feel excitement and uncertainty living side by side in the chest. That's not contradiction. That's calibration. The part of you that remembers your stellar origin is leaning forward, ready to re-enter contact, while the part of you conditioned by Earth's older stories is bracing for shock. And this is exactly why the acceleration is happening now. Your nervous systems, collectively, are finally capable of holding a larger reality without instantly collapsing into denial, worship, paranoia, or numbness. You are watching disclosure from multiple angles at once. You see it in the sky. Narrative space expansion, constant headlines, a cultural normalization of star-facing language. You also see it in the social narrative archives opening, power networks exposed, paper trails surfacing, and institutions forced into public accountability. Most people think these are separate. They are not. They are different doors in the same hallway. When one door cracks open, the pressure changes in the entire building. And what is the building? The collective psyche of humanity, long trained to accept partial truth as comfort, and now being trained, rapidly, to metabolize truth as medicine. This transmission is not here to glorify personalities or demonize institutions. That is a trap, one of the oldest traps on Gaia. The deeper movement is energetic, decentralization of narrative. Once a story is held by a single gate, it can be edited, delayed, rationed, or hypnotically framed. When the story becomes distributed through private capability, independent observation, cultural archetypes, global networks, and the unstoppable hunger of awakened minds, it becomes far harder to suppress without causing a rupture so loud it wakes even the sleepers. And beloveds, the sleepers are waking, not because they became spiritual overnight, but because their lives are forcing them to question what is real. Reality itself is becoming less managed. That is the point. As the Lyrans transmit, your role is not to chase every rumor or drown inside outrage. Your role is to become a stabilizing shoreline. You are the ones who can hold complexity without frenzy. You are the ones who can separate verified fact from emotional manipulation. You are the ones who can look at the sky and the system and say, something is changing, and I will not give my sovereignty away to fear, to heroes, or to the addiction of collapse narratives. Because disclosure is not a press conference. It is a frequency threshold. And frequency thresholds are crossed by those who can stay steady when reality expands. Now we proceed. The corridor is active. The tempo is changing. The lion frequency is returning to the human spine. And what comes next will not arrive politely. It will arrive in waves. Your mission is to stay awake, stay discerning, and stay heart, because heart is not softness. Heart is the organ of truth without hysteria. There are seasons on Gaia when nothing seems to move. And then there are seasons when everything moves at once. You are in the second kind. The acceleration you feel inside your body, inside world events, inside the sky narrative is not random. It is the convergence of three forces: energetic pressure, psychological readiness, and structural inevitability. Energetic pressure is the rising frequency field that makes lies feel heavier, more unstable, harder to maintain. Psychological readiness is the collective nervous system developing enough resilience to face expanded realities without instant collapse. Structural inevitability is simply this: systems built on secrecy eventually become too complex to sustain. They begin leaking. They begin contradicting themselves. They begin consuming their own energy. As the Lyrans transmit, understand that disclosure is not only about extraterrestrial contact. It is about the end of enforced amnesia. Humanity has been trained to believe it is small, isolated, and dependent on gatekeepers for permission to know. That training is breaking. And when training breaks, the body reacts first. Many of you feel it as sleep disturbances, spontaneous grief, sudden rage, heightened intuition, a sensation of something is about to happen, even when your logical mind cannot find a neat reason. That is because the logical mind is often the last to receive the update. The body receives frequency before the intellect can translate it. In this corridor, you will see truth arriving through unexpected channels. Some of it will be beautiful, cultural openness to cosmic possibilities, public conversations about anomalous phenomena, and a new language emerging that treats the universe as alive rather than sterile. Some of it will be brutal, exposure of corruption, exploitation, and networks that fed on silence. Both are part of the same detox. A civilization cannot become interstellar while it is still psychologically tribal, addicted to domination and dependent on collective denial. The poison must surface so it can be seen, not so it can become your identity, but so it can be removed. This is why your inner work matters. People treat meditation like decoration. In a corridor like this, meditation is infrastructure. It strengthens the part of you that can hold expanded reality without being whipped into reactive contagion. When the collective receives a flood of information, some true, some distorted, the untrained nervous system seeks the quickest emotional conclusion. That conclusion becomes a weapon in the hands of whoever can steer it. But the trained nervous system can pause, breathe, and ask, what is verified? What is interpretation? What is manipulation? What is projection? You are not here to be impressed. You are here to be coherent. Coherence is power. Coherence is the ability to remain aligned with truth while others are pulled into polarities. As the Lyrans transmit, we say it clearly. The acceleration is not proof that everything is ending. It is proof that the old container is too small. Expansion feels like chaos to the parts of you that fear change. But to the parts of you that remember Lyra, it feels like homecoming pressure. The body remembers the stars. The spine remembers command presence. The heart remembers living cosmos. And now the collective is being pushed to remember, too. So the first mastery in this corridor is simple but not easy. Do not let the pace of revelation force you into panic. Let it force you into presence. The wave is coming either way. Your job is to surf without losing your center. Because when you hold center, you become a stabilizing node in the grid. And when enough nodes stabilize, the collective can receive a larger truth without tearing itself apart. There's a reason certain phrases and images strike the collective like lightning. Not because they are technically precise, but because they awaken archetypes. Archetypes are energetic templates living beneath culture. When an archetype becomes socially speakable, it becomes energetically actionable. That is why certain future narratives, interstellar, civilization, cooperative exploration, contact without collapse, carry such charge. They are not just ideas, they are identity seeds. As the Lyrans transmit, note this, the public mind is trained to reduce everything to mechanics so it can feel safe. Launch, capacity, funding, engineering, competition. Those are real layers, but the deeper layer is psychological. When space becomes normalized, the collective psyche begins to accept that humanity is not confined. The sky stops being a distant museum behind locked institutional doors and becomes a frontier the human family can touch. That shift is not trivial. It changes what children imagine for their lives. It changes what adults tolerate as possible. It changes the emotional boundary of reality. And here is the key. Disclosure is not just information. It is identity reformatting. For a long time, humanity's identity was earthbound, alone, struggling, controlled. In that identity, the idea of non-human intelligence threatens the ego. It triggers fear reflexes, invasion narratives, religious shock, existential dread, collapse fantasies. But when humanity begins to hold a new identity, star-facing, exploratory, cooperative, capable, the idea of other intelligences becomes less destabilizing. It becomes part of a living cosmology rather than a forbidden rupture. This is why cultural archetypes matter. Wonder is an antidote to fear. Wonder opens the heart. Wonder makes contact less threatening and therefore more possible. The awakened are meant to cultivate wonder without naivety. That means you don't need to idolize any personality. Your world loves to focus on the face, the genius, the headline maker. That's a hypnosis pattern. It makes the collective hand its power to symbols instead of embodying the source. Symbols can be useful, yes, but they are not the origin of the wave. The wave is collective readiness. So how do you hold this with maturity? You refuse to prisons, demonization, and worship. Demonization says everything is evil. Nothing is real. All movement is manipulation. Worship says one man, one company, one institution will save humanity. Both prisons remove sovereignty. The Lyran path is different. Discernment plus command presence. You observe the function of events without being hypnotized by the personality of events. In practice, when you see the sky narrative accelerating, more launches, more prototypes, more public fascination, you can bless the star-facing archetype without surrendering your mind. You can say, may this expansion serve ethics, peace, and cooperation. May it not become conquest and chenier clothing, because technology without heart does not create a mature interstellar species. It creates a more efficient version of old domination. But technology married to awakened consciousness becomes a bridge. And the bridge is what this era is truly about. Contact without collapse. As the Lyrans transmit, hold the deeper truth. The Star Trek archetype, in its healthiest form, is not about warp drives. It is about humanity growing up. It is about meeting the unknown with curiosity and ethics instead of reflexive threat. And that maturity begins inside the individual nervous system. If you can meet your own shadow without collapse, you are training the same muscles required to meet the wider cosmos without collapse. This is not for everyone. The ebook The Feline Codes is a restricted transmission created for those who are ready to awaken the Lyran feline DNA within, not as symbolism, but as embodied sovereignty. Inside, you will access powerful feline activation codes, energetic commands, and precise integration protocols designed to reactivate your lion, tiger lineage, and restore your sovereign frequency. +8 super bonuses: reactivation of Lyran feline DNA, instinct sharpening and sovereign decision power, energetic protection and command presence, exit from passive survival mode into predatory clarity. Warning: once the feline codes are activated, your perception of weakness, fear, and limitation will not return to its previous state. Limited edition transmission. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your copy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. A civilization does not jump from denial to cosmic maturity in one clean announcement. It is trained through exposure's cascading reveals that weaken the old spell of compliance. And one of the strongest training mechanisms is what you are watching now. Archives and corridors of power being forced into visibility. When massive volumes of material move toward public scrutiny, the collective psyche reacts in real time. Outrage, disgust, shock, grief, vindication, confusion, and then the deeper effect, pattern recognition ignites. People begin cross-referencing. They begin noticing overlaps. They begin questioning how secrecy operates. As the Lyrans transmit, we will be precise. In a flood of information, not every claim is verified, and not every interpretation is accurate. In fact, the larger the release, the more fertile the ground becomes for distortions, weaponized narratives, and emotional contagion. That is why these moments are dangerous to the ungrounded mind, but they are holy to the awakened heart that can remain steady while truth surfaces. Because truth surfacing, especially around power and exploitation, breaks the hypnosis that says, you are not allowed to know how your world works. Once that hypnosis breaks, the appetite for deeper truth increases. The tolerance for nothing to see here collapses. And that shift, more than any single document, accelerates disclosure. Why? Because the same methods used to hide human crimes often intersect with the methods used to hide advanced programs, off-ledger funding, compartmentalized corridors, and restricted technologies. The subject matter differs, but the method repeats. When the method is exposed publicly, every compartment relying on it becomes less stable. This is why, when archive shocks happen, people begin suspecting broader hidden ecosystems. Some of those suspicions are grounded, some are projection, some are mythic overlay. And here is where the awakened must be useful. You do not become a rumor engine. You become a clarity engine. You breathe before you repost. You ask for sources. You separate verified fact from interpretive story. You notice emotional manipulation. You do not allow outrage to become your identity, because outrage, while valid, can be harvested. It can be steered. It can be used to destroy your nervous system and your discernment. The Lyran way is not numbness. It is command presence. It is the ability to face horror without collapsing into hysteria, hatred, or helplessness. It is the ability to demand accountability without becoming addicted to emotional fire, because emotional fire feels powerful, but it is unstable. It burns the one holding it. And in a corridor of disclosure, unstable people become easy to manipulate. Stable people become anchors. Here's the subtle training signal hidden inside archive shocks. The public learns to metabolize destabilizing truth. First it learns that power lied. Then it learns that networks exist. Then it learns that institutions protected silence. Once those lessons are internalized, the leap to a living cosmos exists and was hidden becomes less psychologically impossible. Not easy, but possible. This is how the collective nervous system is trained. If you want to be useful, do this. Become the person who can say, yes, something is unraveling, and we will walk it through with clarity and love. We will not be owned by chaos, that single frequency, steady, discerning. Heart-led does more for disclosure than 1,000 frantic posts. The wave is not asking you to amplify noise. It is asking you to embody coherence. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. Many of you hope disclosure will arrive as one clean, official moment, a speech, a confirmation, a perfectly framed narrative that settles everything. That hope is understandable. It is the mind craving order, but reality rarely moves that way, especially when reality threatens the legitimacy of old structures. Institutions prefer controlled drip. The living field prefers living flood. In this corridor, you will see both at once: cautious language from official sources, partial framing, careful terminology, and at the same time, a decentralized surge of independent observation, cultural normalization, whistleblower pressure, and public curiosity that cannot be neatly contained. As the Lyrans transmit, understand why the drip exists. The collective contains hesitant members. A society often moves only as fast as the most fearful parts of itself. So phased disclosure is not always pure malice. Sometimes it is an attempt to prevent panic, religious shock, existential breakdown, or social volatility. And yet, the drip becomes a problem when it is used to manipulate perception, delay accountability, or keep power concentrated. That is when the living flood becomes inevitable. This is why your role matters again. You are not waiting for permission. You carry inner knowing. Many of you have experienced contact through dream time, meditation, synchronicity, and the unmistakable sensation of being observed with intelligence and care. And here is the paradox. The more you stop demanding external permission, the more you become internally stable. And the more internally stable you become, the more the collective gains capacity to hold open contact. So what does it mean to live disclosure now? It means you build a daily practice of resonance, not dramatic obsession resonance, because contact is not only about craft, it is about frequency compatibility. Benevolent intelligences do not primarily respond to fear and demand. They respond to coherence and invitation. When your field is chaotic, you attract chaotic narratives. When your field is coherent, you attract coherent experiences. The Lyrans transmit this law simply. Resonance is access. You also must understand that controlled versus uncontrolled is not a simple war between heroes and villains. Within old structures, there are sincere souls who want transparency. Within new structures, there are mixed motives, pressures, compromises. The point is not to demonize the old or worship the new. The point is to recognize the function, decentralization of narrative. When the story becomes distributed, suppression becomes more costly than admission. And this is exactly what you are seeing: constant sky awareness activation. People look up again. People talk again. People form an inner relationship with the heavens again. That alone changes the collective field. A field that is looking up is harder to hypnotize into smallness. A field that is looking up becomes curious. Curious people are harder to control. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Now we bring it from the cosmic to the personal, because this is where your real power lives. Many want proof. Proof is a reasonable desire, but demanding proof with a fearful nervous system often blocks the very experiences you want. The Lyran approach is different. You build the bridge first through daily resonance, and proof arrives as a byproduct of coherence, not as a trophy you force from the universe. As the Lyrans transmit, here's a practice you can do in 10 minutes a day. It is not about religion. It is not about worship. It is about sovereignty, alignment, and the lion frequency becoming stable inside your body. Begin by sitting with your spine aligned. This is not posture aesthetics. The spine is an antenna. Breathe slowly and deeply 3 times, longer on the exhale than the inhale. Tell your body, we are safe. Many of you cannot access higher perception because your body is still bracing for threat. So the first step is always safety. Bring awareness to the heart center. Imagine a warm, gold-white radiance expanding with each inhale. With each exhale, release fear from the lower centers, survival panic, shame, social fear, the addiction to catastrophic stories. Do not fight these energies. Simply allow them to drain into Gaia for transmutation. As the Lyrans transmit, Gaia is not a passive rock. She is intelligent frequency. She can hold what you release without judging you. This is why grounding is not optional. It is the foundation of stable contact. Now shift your awareness to the crown. Visualize it as a violet-white lotus opening easily. Then shift to the third eye. See an indigo vortex turning slowly, not violently. Whisper internally, I welcome benevolent contact and alignment with love, ethics, and sovereignty. Feel the difference between invitation and demand. Invitation is clean. Demand is fear wearing a mask. Then, move into stillness. In stillness, impressions can arrive. They may not arrive as Hollywood visuals. They may arrive as knowing, warmth, a subtle pressure at the crown, a gentle presence at the shoulders, a symbol repeating across days, a dream that feels more real than sleep. Do not force. Do not perform. Do not chase. Receive. Before you close, speak gratitude not to a God outside you, but to the living field itself, to Gaia, to your own courage, and to any benevolent intelligence that drew near. Gratitude stabilizes frequency. Then return to normal awareness slowly. Look around the room. Drink water. Ground. If you do this daily, something changes. Your doubt begins to soften. Your intuition sharpens. Your emotional reactivity reduces. You become less hypnotizable. And here's the hidden win. Even if no dramatic event happens immediately, you become the kind of person who can hold truth when it arrives. That is the real threshold. The cosmos does not reward drama. It responds to coherence. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. Contact without collapse is not primarily a technological achievement. It is a psychological and energetic achievement. A species can build powerful machines and still be spiritually immature. That immaturity shows up as conquest, exploitation, fear, and tribal projection. The Lyran lineage carries a different frequency. The feline code's instinct sharpened into clarity. Power anchored in ethics, sovereignty embodied without domination. As the Lyrans transmit, the lion frequency is not aggression. It is command presence. It is the ability to hold the room without forcing the room. It is the ability to look at the unknown without turning it into a threat. It is the ability to stand in truth without collapsing into performative outrage or spiritual bypass. Many starseeds struggle here because they confuse softness with goodness. Softness can be beautiful, but softness without spine becomes manipulable. And manipulable people cannot hold the corridor. They become instruments of narratives, fear narratives, savior narratives, collapse narratives. This is why the feline codes are returning now. You are being trained to become steady pillars, not because you are superior, but because you volunteered for a role. Ground crew, stabilizers, translators, those who help others process revelation without panic. And to do that, you must master your own internal reflexes. Watch your reactions in daily life. When someone triggers you, do you collapse into people-pleasing? Do you explode into anger? Do you retreat into numbness? Those are not moral failures. They are training data. Each trigger shows you where your nervous system still believes it is unsafe. And disclosure, at its core, is a global safety recalibration. The collective is learning to be safe in truth. You are learning to be safe in truth. The same muscles apply. Practice 3 Lyran commands when reality intensifies. First, I pause. This interrupts emotional contagion. Second, I verify. This separates truth from manipulation. Third, I anchor. This brings you back to heart and spine. Together. Heart without spine becomes naive. Spine without heart becomes cold. The Lyran path is heart-spine unity. And when enough of you embody heart-spine unity, the collective threshold rises. That is when bigger truths can land without tearing society apart. This is not for everyone. The ebook The Feline Codes is a restricted transmission created for those who are ready to awaken the Lyran feline DNA within, not as symbolism, but as embodied sovereignty. Inside, you will access powerful feline activation codes, energetic commands, and precise integration protocols designed to reactivate your lion, tiger lineage, and restore your sovereign frequency. Plus 8 super bonuses: reactivation of Lyran feline DNA, instinct sharpening and sovereign decision power, energetic protection and command presence, exit from passive survival mode into predatory clarity. Warning: once the feline codes are activated, your perception of weakness, fear, and limitation will not return to its previous state. Limited edition transmission. Access can close at any moment. The link to claim your copy is in the first pinned comment. If this message reached you, it's not random. Now we close the arc by returning to the core. Disclosure is a frequency threshold. Contact is a frequency relationship. And your assignment is not to watch history like it is someone else's movie. Your assignment is to participate with consciousness. As the Lyrans transmit, this means 3 things. 1. You normalize the living cosmos through calm presence. Not through preaching, not through panic, but through the steady way you speak about reality. Open, discerning, grounded. 2. You refuse fear-based narratives that frame the sky as a battlefield by default. There are complexities in the universe, yes, but your focus determines what timelines you feed. When you feed conquest stories, you strengthen conquest potentials. When you feed ethics and reverence for life, you strengthen cooperative potentials. 3. You become leadership when others destabilize. Leadership does not require a title. It requires nervous system strength. When someone hears a shocking revelation and spirals, you do not shame them. You do not mock them. You do not preach. You anchor. You breathe. You remind them, you are safe now. We can handle truth. We can take this step by step. That is how civilizations graduate. And here is the deepest Lyran transmission in this corridor. The star-facing future is not secured by rockets alone. It is secured by a species' ability to meet the wider family of life without collapsing into fear. The true interstellar moment is not a ship on a launch pad. It is the day humanity stands in mature wonder, clear-eyed, ethical, sovereign, and chooses cooperation over reflexive threat. So yes, the tempo is changing. The veil is thinning not only in the skies, but in systems, archives, and cultural narratives. Revelations will come in waves. Some will illuminate, some will agitate. But the ocean is moving because humanity is ready to grow up. And you, Lyran ground crew, are here to make sure the growth happens with heart and spine together. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light.